double down on identity, yes. We double down, we double down on identities. Oh yes we do. We double down on identities. We double down on identities like me and you.
Jason McNeil Graham is my name, and the name of our group is Mosley Wotta. I was lucky enough to be in a family where, there was a lot of music, there was a lot of art one way or the other. Two dads, both of my dads were musicians. One of them was more into doing things like poetry and hand drumming and a lot of things that emerged from this sort of bohemian hub in Rogers Park in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side, right off the Red Line. Where I was born. And then my stepdad is a Chicago blues bass player, and then also just can kind of pick up everything. And then my mom is a singer, and she's a writer and a storyteller, and so and a director and an actor. So there's just a lot of that in my home life. So I think I had a choice, but I'm not so sure. We moved from Chicago to Bend when I was about 9 years old, and there just wasn't, there was so much that was new to me, and I was so apparently new to that place. So that town kind of blew up at the same time we moved there. So we kind of grew up together in a sense, and so there was a lot of change. And one thing that came up a lot, which was a door into more conversations, was stuff about race stuff, and finding that these superficial or surface areas of conversation, of tension, of prejudice, of insight led into a deeper sort of understanding of what it means to be here, what it means to be part of community, and what it means to join up with folks who are also sort of oddballs or kind of misfit toy kids or whatever. So that's how I ended up meeting up with and finding a lot of the geeks and freaks that I work with today.
Wait, actually, can we stop for a sec? Is that okay? Sorry, I didn't mean to kill the mood. If you would like to, you are free, as you are, the exit signs are lit, but you can get up. I don't know what the rules are, but who really does? If you need to get up and move around a little bit, just talk to your neighbors. Don't let the chairs get in the way of your enjoyment or your facilitation, if you're comfortable to do so. Okay, now we have a very serious song that's not conducive to dancing.
I don't know if this is optimism. I think it's spending a lot of time. That is to say, I don't know if my perspective is necessarily optimistic as much as it is looking at inevitability of things. So I think we oftentimes get very focused on a thing, and that becomes this myopic view, and it creates blind spots, and it's easy to not be able to see outside of what you're focused on. One place that you go when you need a break from the work that you're doing or whatever is out into nature. I happen to live in one of the most beautiful places, Oregon. You get to see a lot of what the baseline is, not the headlines as much as the baseline. And equity is a baseline, and you see equity show up in something like a water cycle, for example. So paying attention to something like a water cycle is a great reminder of how something that looks like it could potentially forever be stagnant is inevitably going to switch. It's going to turn into a completely different form. It's going to evolve. It's going to transmute. So I don't think I'm necessarily being optimistic. I just believe that as human beings, we want to see a lot of change in a lifetime based on our lifetime or based on our timeline. But if you look at a geological timeline, we're just babies yet. We're hardly babies yet. So there's a lot of room for there to be possibility. And in the world of arts, imagination makes constant space for possibility. This planet that we're on is a radically inclusive place. So it keeps making space for you regardless of what your ideology is, what your race is, or how you identify. It keeps finding a spot for you. And if you're gonna shift and evolve, it'll find a new niche for you. Like CARE as a revolutionary act, that seems to be one of the most revolutionary things that we could do, is figuring out ways to take things that we know for certain, find a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of uncertainty, which is what art is oftentimes, or at least the artist journey is oftentimes all about, is that going into uncertain environments, taking that leap into some unknown space with your certainty, knowing that there's some wiggle room, and it makes space for the very thing that you might feel you're directly in opposition to. That's radical inclusivity, that there's still space for a conversation, even if we feel as though we're diametrically opposed. I enjoy this meal, do you enjoy this meal? Let's talk about, let's work our way up. In what ways can we come to some sort of place? Not just like singularity. I need you to have your own opinions. I need you to be able to focus on what you're focused on so I can focus on what I'm focused on. We can get a full view, a 360 view, or more than that. But it's a difficult thing to walk because it oftentimes makes it seem like you're simply pandering to that which you should be in opposition to. And it's more than that. It's taking the time to have enough space. You got to get out of your head and into your heart.
This a viable solution, turn a wound into a scar. I don't need enemy anymore, I need to win in the end. I just want to be death as a friend in the end. I just want to be death as a friend in the end. I just want to be death. That I don't need an enemy anymore, I need to win. This a viable solution, this a loser's revolution. Can you feel it?
The point of creating this art is that it's a catalyst object for more conversation. Often those conversations are difficult ones. And so what we're working on is navigating waters of the tricky stuff. So how can we take the work that we're doing and say, let's check our egos for a second, and let's just take this in the best sense, objectify this artwork that we made, and we'll put it in the center on the table. Now let's talk about this thing. Now I don't have to take it personally so much anymore because it's this object over here. So, and that's, shout out to Oregon Humanities and Adam Davis and the Conversation Projects, because that's a really interesting technique and a really interesting way to talk about really personal things without folks getting their feelings hurt. And then when they do get their feelings hurt, that there's a supportive system around you, because all you're trying to do is understand better what the other person is saying, because there's got to be some kind of insight in what they're saying.